Hey guys, tonight we're going on a little trip. And no, not the vacation kind with cute cafes and Instagrammable sunsets. We're talking time travel. What if you suddenly woke up in the Middle Ages with only your phone? No charger, no cell service, no way back. Forget TikTok, forget Google Maps, forget telling your followers you've just become history's newest lost cause. So before we dive in, smash that like button if you've ever imagined yourself in another century, and tell me in the comments, what's the last app you'd want to have open when civilization disappears? Now dim the lights, maybe pull your blanket up a little higher, because things are about to get medieval. You wake up in a field. It's wet. It smells like something between moldy bread and horse pee. The air is heavy, not polluted, but somehow raw. You can feel the mud between your toes. Because guess what? You're barefoot now. Your sneakers didn't time travel with you. And when you sit up, the first thing you check? Yep, your phone. Battery, 73%. Signal, 0 bars. Wi-Fi. Ha, that's cute. You spin around. No roads, no cars, just fog, distant mooing, and a peasant woman staring at you like you're either a god or a demon. And to be fair, you're wearing polyester. That is kind of demonic by 13th century standards. Okay, so you hold up your phone. You're thinking, flashlight. Maybe show them a photo, flex your tech. Congratulations, you've just committed your first crime. You're surrounded in minutes. People whisper. Someone starts praying. Another throws a rock. You barely escape with your life and your phone, but not before someone yells something that sounds suspiciously like sorcerer. Yeah, your phone? It's not a lifeline here. It's evidence. You hide in a barn, shivering, hungry. Your phone screen lights up the straw around you like a miniature bonfire. You Google how to survive the Middle Ages, except, oops, no signal. Maps, no GPS. Photos? You scroll through your camera roll like it's a museum of a life you can't get back. Friends, food, sunsets, cats. All pixel ghosts now. You open notes, start typing a survival plan like it's a doomsday journal. Day 1, avoid being burned alive. Day 2, learn how to make fire without a USB-C cable. By now, your phone is at 41%. Every time you check it, that percentage feels more like your lifeline ticking down. You stop using it for light. You ration screen time like it's oxygen. Eventually, it becomes a glorified mirror one you use to check for lice. Because yes, you've got them now. Everyone does. You try to teach someone how it works. Show them the camera, the screen. They nod, then run away screaming. You consider charging it with friction, like rubbing it with wool. You consider solar power until you remember medieval Europe doesn't believe in anything solar, especially not energy. Your battery hits 1%. You stare at it, hard. Do you use it one last time to take a photo of this awful, damp, ancient world? Or do you close your eyes and pretend it's just a dream? The screen goes black. And so, the Middle Ages win. Weeks pass. You stop thinking about Wi-Fi. You start thinking about bread, like real bread, not gluten-free, organic, sourdough artisan croissant bread. Just bread that isn't moldy or infested. You become one of them, sort of. You smell worse. You talk slower. You've traded your useless phone for a half-dead chicken and a lump of wax. You learn to count days by church bells and your own shadow. Your fingers are calloused. Your back hurts all the time. And you've never felt more alive. So, what would happen if you time traveled to the Middle Ages with only your phone? You'd be worshipped, then hunted, then helpless. Because the truth is, your phone doesn't make you powerful. Your knowledge does, your adaptability, your grit. Technology dies, but you might just learn to live without it. Let me know in the comments, what app would you want with you in the past? What medieval skill do you think you could fake long enough to survive? And if you like this ride through time, hit subscribe. We've got more bizarre history, dark hypotheticals, and immersive stories coming up. Until next time, don't forget to charge your phone. You never know where you'll wake up. The phone is dead. It's not dramatic. No sparks, no smoke, Just dead. It's strange how quiet life becomes without that screen. No dings, no scrolling, no dopamine hits from likes or messages. It's just the sound of flies, the slow creak of wooden carts, and the grumble in your stomach. You stop waiting for a rescue. No portals opening, no time travel police. It's just you, your dead phone, and a world that still thinks bathing once a month is excessive. You try to remember what you learned in history class, but let's be honest, you were half asleep during that lecture. All you recall is plague bad, nights cool. Spoiler alert, the nights don't look like the movies. They're angry, illiterate, and smell like old soup. And the plague? It's always nearby. A cough here, a rat there, someone disappearing overnight with black spots and no explanation. You've learned to keep your head down, literally. Eye contact is suspicious. Smiling? Dangerous. Laughing? Borderline suicidal. You learn to survive on root vegetables and suspicion. Every village has its drama. Land disputes, accusations of witchcraft, family feuds passed down like heirlooms, and eventually you get caught in one. You're asked to testify about a missing goat. You try to stay neutral. You say things like, maybe it wandered off, and who can truly own a goat? But that just makes people stare harder. One old man leans in and says, you speak like a scholar. Are you hiding Latin under that tongue? You smile awkwardly and say, no, just allergies. Now you're suspicious. Too clean, too odd. You eat with both hands and don't flinch at thunder. That's witch behavior. So you make a choice. You side with the baker's wife. She has kind eyes and more food than anyone else. You fake confidence. You help her carry flour. You nod when she gossips. You smile when she lies. You've just joined your first medieval alliance. Welcome to feudal politics. You start seeing the world differently. You no longer cringe at chamber pots being dumped out of windows. You just dodge, instinctively, like it's a reflex. You stop asking for privacy. There is no privacy. Everything is shared beds, bowls, secrets. Toothbrush? Not a thing. Everyone uses a twig. Deodorant? Also not a thing. People embrace their scent like it's a personality trait. And then there's the religion. Every action, every illness, every gust of wind is tied to sin or salvation. You say wow once, too many times, and someone starts wondering if you worship the moon. You quickly learn to say, by God's mercy, after everything. The weather's nice. By God's mercy. You found a turnip? By God's mercy. You didn't die today? That's a miracle. You're adapting, but you're not sure if you're becoming stronger or just losing yourself. One day, a merchant arrives from a distant city. He carries spices, rumors, and news from the king. But more importantly, he has a glimmering object in his sack. It's a mirror, a real one, glass, clean, untarnished. He lets you look into it. And what you see isn't you, not really. Your hair is matted. Your face is sunburned. Your eyes look older, like they've seen too many things you can't explain. You smile, but it doesn't reach the corners. Not like before. You realize something. You stopped waiting to go back. You stopped wondering about your friends, your job, your online life. You are here, in this world, this harsh, beautiful, filthy, real world. You were dropped into the Middle Ages with only a phone. And now that it's gone, you're surviving with only yourself. And somehow that's enough. You sit in stunned silence on a mossy log, your phone clutched like a sacred relic. Around you, the forest is alive with creaks and groans, bird song that sounds suspiciously like cackling, and the distant shuffle of something very large that definitely wasn't in the App Store. The battery's holding steady at 86%, but you're quickly learning that without Wi-Fi, 5G, or even a faint whisper of Bluetooth, your mighty digital companion is about as useful as a glowing rock. The torch works, sure, but now it's midday and the sun is out, so you can't even bask in the artificial security of your flashlight beam. That's when you smell it. Something like wet dog, burnt onions, and despair. You turn. A peasant boy stands there, hair matted, feet bare, nose enthusiastically leaking. He stares at your clothes like you're made of gold. Then he sees the phone. Ooh, he murmurs, like he's just seen the Holy Grail. You hold a devil's mirror? You try to smile. Nah, just a talking candle. He gasps and runs. By the time you reach the village, if you can call it that, you've stepped in more mud than you thought existed on Earth, dodged a goat with serious rage issues, and accidentally wandered into someone's backyard, which doubled as their toilet and their dining room, simultaneously. The people here don't know what to make of you. You're too clean, your teeth are suspiciously intact, and you don't reek of old cheese, sweat, and unwashed linen. Naturally, they assume you're a witch. You show them your phone to explain. Big mistake. You swipe to your gallery. Front camera opens. Suddenly, you're the first person in the Middle Ages to invent the selfie. They shriek. Someone faints. One man runs away yelling, "Satan walks among us!" You quickly switch to airplane mode, not because it helps, but because it feels like the adult thing to do. You manage to convince a kindly old woman. Her name sounds like Grimelda, but it could also be Grand Mildred, to let you stay in her barn in exchange for helping with chores. Your stomach growls like a bear in a cave. You haven't eaten since you fell through time. The scent of something cooking wafts through the air. Smoky, gamey, and, let's be honest, suspicious. You follow your nose through muddy alleyways and over a crooked wooden bridge where pigs trot beneath, rooting in things you try not to identify. Finally, a village square. A crowd is gathered around a massive pot over an open fire. You see chunks of meat bobbing inside. Is that beef? Maybe lamb? One guy says it's something they caught near the river. The others laugh. You're offered a bowl. Politely, you decline. But here's the thing. Food is scarce. Real medieval peasants don't get 3 meals a day, or even 2. Bread's the staple, often blackened and sour. Vegetables? Seasonal? Fruit? Rare. Meat? A luxury unless something dies nearby, or you poach from the Lord's land and don't get caught, or hanged. You reach into your pocket and pull out your phone. Maybe you downloaded a survival app? A recipe or two? Sadly, no signal still, and the battery's now at 71%. You wonder if you could barter the phone for food, but to them, it's either a shiny devil's mirror or a rock that won't skip on water. So you suck it up and try the stew. It's salty, vaguely fishy, and chewy in a way that suggests it had legs, or teeth, or both. Now you might be thinking, why not just go hunting? Well, remember, you have no tools, no bow, no trap, no clue how to set a snare. Your experience with hunting involves scrolling through delivery apps. And even if you did get your hands on a rabbit or pheasant, you'd still have to clean it, gut it, skin it. Roast it over a fire you'd somehow have to make without a lighter or matches. How's that YouTube bushcraft video looking now? But then, there's a breakthrough. You meet a woman named Alice. She's rough, stern, and suspicious of your smooth skin and soft words. But she's hungry too. She teaches you to identify wild onions, how to tell edible mushrooms from the kind that'll make your soul leave your body, and where to find birds' eggs without being pecked to death. In return, you show her the flashlight on your phone. She screams, then laughs, then screams again. "Witch light," someone mutters. You nod, too tired to argue. That night, you eat something called pottage. It's more water than stew, thickened with barley and dreams. But it's warm. You sit by the fire. You're dirty, sore, and slightly traumatized. But you've survived another day. And the battery? 64%, still holding on. You wake up itchy, not just a little. It feels like ants are square dancing under your skin. You scratch. It gets worse. You stumble out of the straw pile you were calling a bed. It reeks of mildew, sweat, and something else you'd rather not name. You glance down at your clothes, caked in dust, sweat-stained, and now dotted with tiny black specks that might actually be alive. Time to take a shower, right? Oh, sweet summer child. There are no showers, no taps, no peppermint body wash. You can't even find a bucket of clean water, let alone a bar of soap. What passes for washing here happens maybe once a month, and even that's considered a luxury. Medieval peasants aren't big on hygiene. It's not that they enjoy being grimy, it's that clean water is either hard to come by or too dangerous to mess with. Streams are full of runoff, wells are sacred, and rivers double as a public bath, dishwashing station, and toilet. So you try the next best thing. You walk to a communal trough, splash water on your face, and scrub with a rag you borrowed from a barn. It smells like goats, probably because it was a goat's blanket. Someone sees you. They don't scold you, they just stare. Why? Because washing your whole body in broad daylight looks weird, suspicious, almost sinful. You remember your phone, you flip the camera on, hoping maybe the front-facing lens can show you how bad you look. You're not prepared. You stare into the screen, mud-caked cheeks, eyes red from smoke, hair so greasy it could qualify as a candle ingredient. You look like you've been dragged through 10 centuries of dirt, which frankly you have. And the battery? 58%. You're starting to resent your phone. All that sleek, shiny potential and not a single drop of actual help. It's now a black mirror reflecting just how out of place you are. You think about asking someone for soap. Bad move. Soap isn't standard. It's homemade by boiling animal fat with ashes, sometimes herbs, sometimes urine. You decide maybe you don't need soap after all. But someone does take pity on you. An old woman hands you a bundle of dried lavender wrapped in cloth. You hold it to your nose. For a moment, just a second, you remember a time when your room smelled like clean laundry and lemony disinfectant. Then someone farts behind you and the memory's gone. You tie the lavender bundle to your wrist and accept your fate. This is your life now, itchy, smelly, suspicious, and somehow surviving. You wonder how long your immune system will hold up. But hey, at least you're bonding with the villagers. Smell is a language here, and now you speak it. The sun dips below the thatched rooftops, casting long shadows over a village that smells like sweat, dung, and wet straw. Your stomach growls so loud even the pigs glance at you. It's time for dinner, or whatever passes for a meal in the Middle Ages. You wander into the main hut, ducking under a beam that's probably concussed generations before you. A single clay bowl sits in the center of a crude wooden table. Surrounding it are calloused hands, sunburned faces, and eyes that don't blink much. They gesture toward you, not with warmth, but with a look that says, "You eat what we eat, no complaints." You peer into the bowl. It's gray, lumpy, smells vaguely of turnip and despair. Meat pottage, a thin stew made from whatever didn't rot that week. Mostly barley, some boiled weeds, and if you're lucky, a hint of old onion. No seasoning, no meat. Unless someone caught a rat. You're handed a spoon carved from bone. It's sticky. You try not to think about it. You take a bite. It's bland, but your body doesn't care. It's fuel, and you're running on fumes. The others eat fast, scraping the bowl until it looks polished. Someone passes a hunk of black bread, so hard you could use it as a doorstop. You gnaw on it anyway. Your jaw aches. You reach for your phone out of habit. No food delivery, no takeout apps, no GPS to the nearest Taco Bell. Just your slowly dying battery glaring back at you like a digital ghost. A dog slips under the table and licks your foot. You don't flinch. At this point, you're part of the ecosystem. Then comes the drink. A cloudy liquid poured from a wooden jug. You ask what it is. They say ale. You say, "Oh, like beer?" They blink, then laugh. You drink. It's warm, flat, funky. But it's got calories, and by the second gulp, your headache starts to fade. Or maybe the buzz is just dulling your senses. Either way, you lean back, foolish and dazed. Someone farts, loudly. No one reacts. In fact, they seem impressed. You're learning the rules of survival here. Eat fast, eat what's given. Never ask where it came from. And just when you think it's over, someone drags in a slab of raw meat. It's slapped on the table, hacked with a dull knife, and passed around. No fire, no seasoning, just flesh and teeth. You fake a polite smile and tap your phone screen. 28%. The flashlight still works. You shine it on the meat. Bad idea, wriggling. You switch it off. Eat in the dark. It's easier that way. And with that, the meal ends. Someone belches, someone snores. A child steals your bread crust and chews it like gold. You sit in the glow of the hearth thinking of your fridge back home. The glowing shelves, the cold soda, the leftovers, the ice cream. You'd cry if your tear ducts weren't clogged with smoke. But this is community. Raw, feral, somehow real. You've survived your first medieval dinner. Barely. Night in the medieval village doesn't fall. It descends. Like a heavy, suffocating wool blanket soaked in fog, soot, and silence. The fire crackles low in the hearth, casting long, twisting shadows on the mud-caked walls. You lie on a heap of straw, itchy, musty, vaguely damp, wrapped in a coarse woolen cloak that smells like wet goat and old sweat. Sleep doesn't come easily. Your body aches from a day of cold, hunger, and sheer confusion. But it's not just discomfort that keeps you awake. It's the sounds. Soft scratching from the rafters. Rats, probably rats, scurrying just above your head, claws clicking against old wood. Then a distant howl. Not a dog, longer, lower. You freeze. A woman across the room mumbles a prayer in Latin. Another spits 3 times toward the door. You don't ask. You just stare into the fire, pretending it's Netflix. You hear it again. Closer. The villagers say nothing, but they sit up. One grabs a rusted scythe. Another clutches a string of wooden beads. You whisper, "What is that?" A man with one eye and a permanent scowl replies, "Night things." You ask again, thinking maybe he meant wolves. "No," he says, "they wear wolves. Skinwalkers. Forest spirits. They hate light." You turn on your phone's flashlight. All eyes snap toward you. You may as well have fired a gun. "Turn it off," someone hisses. So you do. And you realize this isn't just superstition. This is survival. Light draws attention. Attention in the dark gets you killed. Time slows. The villagers speak in hushed tones. Stories pass like bread. Of children who vanish chasing lights into the woods. Of men who walked out after dusk and returned wrong. Eyes too wide, smiles too still. You don't believe in monsters. Not really. But in this place, belief isn't optional. It's armor. You finally drift off, lulled by the slow breathing of strangers, the heat of the fire, and the distant, unexplainable laughter carried on the wind. Then, thump, something outside the door. You sit up. So does everyone else. The room is dead silent. Even the rats pause. Another thump. Closer. No one moves. And then a knock. 3 times. Slow, deliberate, wooden on wood. Someone whispers, "Don't answer it." Someone else is crying quietly. And you don't breathe. The knock comes again. And then, nothing. Just wind. The one-eyed man stares at the door for a full 10 minutes before sitting back down. No one speaks. You stay awake the rest of the night, holding your phone like a talisman, watching the battery drain 1% at a time. By dawn, your hands are numb, your legs are cramped, your fear has curdled into exhaustion. You survive the night. Barely. And outside, frost laces the ground like thin white scars. The cold may bite, but it's hunger that gnaws. You step outside into a world glazed in frost. Your breath curls in the air like smoke from a dying fire. The sky is a pale gray smear, the kind that promises no sun, no warmth, just the eternal shrug of winter. Your stomach growls. Not the playful kind of rumble you get when you skip breakfast. No, this is different. It's hollow, low, threatening. The kind of growl that whispers you might not see spring. You glance around. The fields are barren. Skeletons of summer past. No crops, no greens. Not even weeds daring to poke through the snow-dusted earth. Chickens? Gone. Eaten weeks ago. Pigs? Sold or slaughtered? Cows? Only if you're rich. You are not rich. What you do have is gruel. Marin. Gruel is medieval oatmeal's emotionally damaged cousin, a thin, watery paste made from barley or oats if you're lucky, tree bark and sawdust if you're not. Today's serving is gray. There's a lump in it. You don't ask what it is. You just eat. Because it's that or nothing. Someone near you coughs. Hard, wet. The sound echoes. No one reacts. You realize now it's just part of the soundscape, like the church bell or the creaking door. You eat fast. Not because it's good, but because if you don't, someone else will. The villagers don't just guard food, they watch each other eat it. Hunger makes people strange, quiet, suspicious. Every bowl is a secret, every crust of bread a reason for betrayal. A boy scrapes his wooden spoon like it owes him money. An old woman gnaws a turnip like it insulted her. And when someone drops their cup, no one helps. Everyone just stares at the spilled contents, the way a pack of wolves watches one of their own limp. You finish your bowl and try to return it. The cook, a man with a limp and no teeth, snatches it back like it's solid gold. He smells like ash and onions. You thank him. He doesn't answer. In this world, gratitude is a luxury. So is kindness. A young girl offers you a boiled root. You smile, she doesn't. She just says, "It tastes better if you close your eyes and pretend it's cake." Then she walks away. And honestly, she's not wrong. You sit against the cold stone wall and chew. It's bitter, stringy, but it fills the silence in your belly, at least for a moment. Around you, the village comes alive, not with joy, but with motion. People scraping together firewood, digging at frozen dirt, feeding skeletal goats, patching clothes, patching roofs, patching wounds. You see a man slice his palm open with an axe. He wraps it with straw and keeps chopping. You flinch. No one else does. Pain is expected, like winter, like death. They don't ask for help. They don't wait for it. Because in the Middle Ages, if you wait, you die. You think the cold is outside, but here's the truth. Eventually it gets in, not through doors or windows, through skin, through bone, through silence. You wake up one morning, or maybe it's night. There's barely a difference in winter, and the frost is inside your nose. Your fingertips are stiff. Your breath is a ghost that won't leave. The thatched roof above you has stopped holding out the snow. Your blanket, it's made of rough wool and regret. The fire went out sometime during the night. No one noticed, or maybe they were too tired to care. You get up. Everything hurts. Your knees, your neck, your very soul. You aren't sick yet, but the girl in the corner is, the one who shared a bed with two others last night. You hear her breathing, slow and shallow, like a fading echo. A chill rolls down your spine, not from the wind, but from the realization that she might not wake up. In the Middle Ages, people don't always get the dignity of a drawn-out goodbye. Some just stop coughing, stop moving, stop being. And when that happens, there's no ambulance, no phone call, no clean sheet to wrap the body in. Just silence, then a few murmurs, then the shovel. You help carry her out. The air outside is no warmer than inside. You dig into the frozen ground. The dirt is stubborn, like it resents your intrusion. Your hands go numb. You keep digging. Eventually, there's just enough space. You lower her down. No one cries. Crying takes energy and warmth, two things you can't afford. Instead, someone mutters a prayer. You don't understand all the words, but you understand the rhythm. The way death in winter has its own language. One spoken in stiff movements, shallow graves, and borrowed time. And then the wind howls. You pause. Not because of the noise, but because you've heard that howl before. At night, people whisper stories. About spirits that hate the cold even more than the living do. About souls too bitter to leave. About the graveyard on the hill where some bodies are found frozen above the ground the next morning, like they'd clawed their way out. Of course, it's just talk. Probably. But when you hear scratching on the door that night, just faint, just once, you stay very, very still. Maybe it was the wind. Maybe it wasn't. Either way, you don't open the door. You roll over, pull the blanket tighter, and stare into the dark. The fire is gone again. Your breath hangs in the air like a question no one wants to answer. And still, tomorrow, you'll wake up and do it all again. Because the cold doesn't take breaks. Neither does death. You're sick. You don't know what it is, but it started last night with a cough that clawed your throat like a wild animal. Now you're burning up, sweating under layers of itchy wool while your feet remain ice. Your host, an older woman with a face carved by decades of frost and worry, notices your state. She mutters something, disappears behind a wooden door, and returns with a bowl of something dark, thick, and steaming. You sniff it. It smells like mud, smoke, and possibly sadness. She insists you drink it. So you do, because you're in the Middle Ages and politely refusing isn't a thing here. It burns all the way down and your vision swims with dizziness and dirt. Congratulations! You've just taken your first dose of medieval medicine. Now here's the thing. Healing in the Middle Ages is part wisdom, part hope, and part pure guesswork. Forget pills, forget antibiotics, forget even clean bandages. Here the cure might be leeches. Yes, leeches. Wormy little vampires that the local healer swears by. The theory? If you're sick, your blood must be bad. And if you're bleeding, you're healing. You're laid down on a hard, splintered bench by the hearth. A man in a long brown robe with breath like boiled cabbage approaches. He reaches into a cloth bag and there they are. Fat, squirming leeches. He slaps them on your chest, underarms, and behind your ears like he's seasoning a roast. They latch on. You can feel them suck. You want to scream. You don't. Because outside, people are dying for less. Afterwards, he offers you a paste made of crushed garlic, goat fat, and something disturbingly green. It's meant to go on your chest. You smell like a cursed stew. You hope it works. Meanwhile, the village herbalist arrives. She's got long, tangled hair and wears bells around her ankles. She's respected, feared, maybe even a little magical. She pulls out dried roots, mutters to the fire, and presses a finger to your forehead. You're told to chew willow bark. It tastes like bitter wood and stubborn tears. But it helps, just a little, enough to keep you conscious while your body battles itself. And then, there's the ritual. The healer insists on burning dried sage and chanting something you're certain came from a dream or a nightmare. The room fills with smoke. The light twists. You feel like you're floating. Someone else is coughing in the next room. A child. It's getting worse. You learn that death doesn't always come like thunder. Sometimes it comes like a quiet knock at the back door. And the worst part? People just accept it. They don't panic. They don't beg for miracles. They have no hospitals, no waiting rooms, no second opinions. They have fire, herbs, prayers. And if things get desperate, bloodletting by candlelight. A few days pass. You survive. Barely. But you're not the same. You felt what it's like to hang by a thread stitched with garlic and goat grease. You've seen the way people look at a fever like it's a loaded crossbow. They don't ask if someone will die this winter. They ask who. And it changes you. Because now you realize you're not just time traveling. You're surviving. One miserable, leech-slurping, garlic-stinking day at a time. It's been 3 days since the fever broke. Your chest still wheezes. Your head feels like it's been stuffed with straw. But the real problem now is simpler, more primal. You're hungry. Not, I skipped breakfast hungry. Not, it's 10 p.m. and the pizza still hasn't arrived hungry. You're medieval hungry. A gnawing, hollow, bone-deep ache that makes your body weak and your brain cruel. And when your host places a bowl of something hot and brown in front of you, you don't ask questions. You just eat. But after a few mouthfuls, you do wonder, quietly, internally, what the hell is in this stew? It's warm, that's good. It's soft, also good. But the texture? Somewhere between shredded fabric and boiled cartilage. And the taste? Like someone tried to make soup out of a boot and a handful of dirt. You look around. No one else seems concerned. A boy slurps his bowl with loud satisfaction. An old man smacks his lips and laughs, pointing to a bone shard wedged between his teeth. You shovel in another spoonful. Congratulations! You're officially eating pottage. Pottage isn't a dish. It's a concept, a lifestyle, a bottomless cauldron of whatever. Root vegetables if they were lucky, barley if they've had a good harvest, animal parts if someone's recently butchered a pig, or if something died mysteriously behind the barn. Meat is rare. Winter meat? Rarer still. When it does show up in the pot, it's often from the parts nobody wanted. Tongues, kidneys, livers, intestines, occasionally something that still has fur on it. That explains the occasional crunch. But it fills you up, and in the Middle Ages, that's more precious than taste. Now, let's talk about bread. You remember bread as warm, fluffy, store-bought comfort food. But here, it's survival in the shape of a brick. Medieval winter bread is coarse, hard, heavy, made from rye, barley, oats, and whatever was left in the cellar that hadn't been nibbled by mice. If the flour has worms in it, well, they count as protein. You try to chew it. It fights back. A woman next to you tears a chunk with her teeth like she's biting into drywall. You copy her. Your jaw pops. You nearly crack a molar. But still, it's calories. You drink water. Wait, do you drink the water? It's murky. Tastes slightly metallic. Then you remember. This is the Middle Ages. Clean water is for monks and miracles. Everyone else drinks ale, even the children. So they hand you a cup of weak, cloudy beer. You down it. It's bitter, warm, and vaguely sour. But at least it's safer than the well water that's crawling with bacteria you can't see and don't want to meet. That evening, as the wind howls outside, you help with dinner. You peel turnips, twisted, pale roots with angry scars. You stir the cauldron and toss in dried herbs that smell like regret. Someone hands you a strip of dried meat. It's salty, stiff, and could double as a weapon. And then there's the cheese. It's alarming. It smells like feet. Looks like a mistake. But the villagers eat it proudly. They slice it with grim smiles and offer it like treasure. You eat it. It punches your sinuses from the inside out. It fights you harder than the bread. But after a few bites, you get it. In a place where every meal is a gamble, strong cheese is a sign you're still alive. You've made it another day, another bowl of stew, another lump of bread, another stinky slab of cheese. Now here's the thing they won't tell you in your history textbook. Medieval peasants weren't just hungry, they were starving creatively. They knew how to scrape flavor from bones, how to dry apples in smoke, how to ferment cabbage into sour salvation, how to bake insects into cakes and convince themselves it was tradition. Because if you can't fill your belly, you fill your brain with stories, rituals, laughter. You see it happen that night. A young boy holds up a bone. He pretends it's a flute, makes farting noises. The room erupts in laughter. An old woman tosses herbs into the fire and tells a tale about how they keep away demons and toothaches. Food is fuel, but stories? Stories keep them human. And you realize between bites of turnip mush and moldy rye, this isn't just dinner. It's survival theater. It's community. It's defiance in a bowl. And you're part of it now. You wake up before dawn to the sound of chickens losing their minds. The air is freezing, your fingers are stiff, and your stomach is quietly staging a rebellion against last night's questionable stew. And then it hits you. The urge. Not a polite nudge. Not a soft reminder. No, this is urgent. It's happening. Now. You roll out of your scratchy straw bed, boots half on, cloak clutched tight, and you look around the one-room cottage. Everyone's still asleep, snoring and groaning in their dreams, huddled beneath furs and hay. You whisper to yourself, panicking, "Where's the bathroom?" Spoiler alert, there isn't one. No sink, no faucet, no porcelain throne. This is the Middle Ages. The closest thing to modern plumbing is prayer. You spot a wooden bucket tucked beneath the table. It's half full. You're about to investigate when a child, maybe 6 years old, sits up, grabs the bucket like it's a family heirloom, does his business right in front of you, and then pushes it back under the table like it's just another Tuesday. You step outside, into the cold. The wind slices through your clothes like knives made of frost. You head for the privy, a polite word for an outdoor wooden box with a hole in the middle. No lock, no toilet paper, no dignity. The seat is rough wood, worn and splintered by decades of terrified cheeks. You hover, you balance, you shiver violently, and then you look down. The pit. It's deep, black, alive. It steams in the cold. You see movement. Was that a rat? You don't want to know. You finish. You don't feel clean. You wipe with a square of hay. You vow to never complain about gas station bathrooms again. But this is luxury. Because you're in a village. Imagine you're in a city. London, let's say. Population, crowded, hygiene, a suggestion. People live elbow to elbow in tenements. No private privy here. So what do? They use chamber pots, ceramic bowls they keep under the bed. And when they're full, they toss them out the window. No joke, no warning, just splat. A sudden splash on the cobblestones below. If you're walking the streets at night, you'd better move like a ninja and stay near the walls. Or else it's the medieval equivalent of being rained on by an entire Taco Bell. The phrase "gardyloo" comes to mind. It's what the Scots shout before hurling their contents out the window. A mix of warning and helpless resignation. But most people, they don't shout. They just dump and hope for the best. Now you might think, fine, I'll just hold it. Brave thought. But sooner or later, you'll encounter the communal latrine, a large bench with several holes, side by side. No dividers, no doors, no shame. You sit elbow to elbow with strangers. You nod awkwardly. You hear everything. One person hums. Another grunts like a dying walrus. Someone offers you a boiled onion. It's a bonding experience. You never forget it, but it doesn't end there. Let's say you're royalty, a noble. Surely the castle has plumbing, right? Wrong. They have garderobes, tiny stone closets built over a vertical shaft that drops down into a moat or cesspit. Sounds fancy? Sure, until the wind changes and sends the smell back up the shaft. You're sitting on a freezing cold stone slab, trying to do your business, while the scent of 1,000 previous attempts wafts upward into your soul. And here's the final horror. No toilet paper. You ask a peasant, they stare blankly. You ask a monk, he hands you a sheep's wool scrap or maybe a bundle of straw. Some places used old cloth, others used moss, and the truly unlucky used their left hand. Yes, the left hand. That's why the right was for eating. Suddenly your phone doesn't seem so useless. Not for texting, not for Google Maps, but for its flashlight. Because navigating a medieval outhouse in the dark, that's when real fear begins. So tonight, when you use your modern toilet, with your double-ply paper, clean water, and locking door, pause, reflect, whisper a thank you to the gods of plumbing. Because in the Middle Ages, every trip to the toilet was an act of courage. You're walking through the medieval marketplace, trying not to breathe too deeply. The air is thick with wood smoke, manure, and fish that's definitely seen better days. Then it happens. Someone coughs. Not a cute little ahem. No, this is a deep, chest-rattling, phlegm-choked cough that echoes off the stones like a cannon. A woman 2 stalls down lets out a loud sneeze. And suddenly the crowd scatters like pigeons from a catapult. Why? Because here, in the heart of the 14th century, a sneeze doesn't mean you're fighting allergies. It might mean you've got the plague. Yes, that plague, the Black Death, the big one. A disease so feared, so deadly, so utterly horrifying that people believed it was punishment from God, the devil, or maybe both in collaboration. You look around. There's no CDC, no quarantine zones, no hospitals. There's just one man striding down the street in a long black robe with a wide-brimmed hat, leather gloves, and a bird mask. Yes, a beaked mask. This, my brave time-traveling friend, is a plague doctor. And while he looks like the final boss in a horror game, his job is, well, complicated. That mask, it's stuffed with herbs, flowers, and vinegar-soaked rags, designed to protect him from the miasma, the bad air people believed carried disease. But here's the grim twist. The mask didn't help. Neither did the herbs. The plague was bacterial, carried by fleas on rats, and no one knew it. So what did plague doctors do? Let's break it down. They poked you with sticks to avoid touching you. They bled you to balance your humors. They might give you a warm poultice made of onion, garlic, and mercury. Mercury. You're in pain, sweating, coughing up blood, and someone hands you a spoonful of liquid metal. Cheers. Let's say you're lucky and you don't catch the plague. You're still not safe. Because medicine in the Middle Ages is, let's call it experimental. And by that, I mean barber surgeons. Yes, barbers. The same guys who trim your beard also pull teeth, lance boils, and amputate infected limbs. Usually in the same chair, sometimes with the same tools. You need a tooth out? Here's a pair of pliers. You need a leg off? Here's a saw. No anesthesia, just a wooden stick to bite and a prayer to scream. But wait, it gets better. Barber surgeons hung their bloody bandages outside to dry. That's where the red and white barber pole comes from. Literal blood and linen flapping in the breeze. Let's say your fever breaks, your body aches, but you survive. You're one of the lucky few. Except now your village thinks you're a witch. Why else would you survive when others didn't? Now you're tied to a wooden chair in the square. A priest recites Latin. The crowd gathers. You're dunked underwater. If you float, you're guilty. If you drown, you're innocent. Congratulations. You've just entered the world of medieval justice. But we'll save that nightmare for another chapter. Let's shift gears for a second and talk about everyday health. You think brushing your teeth in the morning is a chore? In the Middle Ages, you didn't brush. You chewed mint leaves, rubbed your teeth with linen, or swished vinegar if you were fancy. No fluoride, no floss, no mercy. Your teeth, rotting, yellow, painful. And when one finally cracks or oozes pus, that's when you go see our old friend, the barber surgeon. He smiles with 4 teeth of his own, wipes his pliers on his apron, and says, "This won't take long." You scream. He yanks. You pass out. But don't worry, you'll wake up to the sound of bells. Bells worn by plague victims as they shuffle through the streets, begging for help and warning others to keep away. So, you still want to time travel? Or does your phone flashlight, modern dentist, and hand sanitizer suddenly feel like magical artifacts? If you're still watching, shout out in the comments, would you survive the Black Death? You don't know how it started. One minute you're minding your business in a medieval tavern, sipping a suspiciously chunky ale, and the next, boom, trumpets blare, men shout, and someone throws a helmet into your arms. You're now a soldier. Congratulations! Except you have no idea what you're doing, and you're holding a rusty sword that smells like old soup. Outside the village, thousands of men line up. On one side, your team, farmers, butchers, shoemakers, none of whom have seen real combat. On the other, actual knights in full armor, probably named Godfrey or William, raised on war and bread that could crack a skull. You glance around. There's no strategy, no earpieces, no air support, just horses snorting steam, banners flapping in the wind, and rows of shaking peasants trying not to wet themselves. The commander rides past, yelling orders you don't understand. Your legs, already mud-soaked. Your hands, numb from the cold and terror. Then screams. A storm of arrows descends like black rain. The sound is unreal. Whistles, thuds, shrieks, and the wet crack of bodies splitting open. You dive. The man next to you doesn't. His eyes stay open. You try not to look. You're up again, marching, then running. The two armies crash together like waves slamming into jagged rocks. Swords clang, axes split shields. Somewhere, a man roars so loudly you feel it in your spine. You swing your weapon wildly, hitting air, then maybe someone's arm. You don't know. Everything smells like blood and smoke and old sweat. And oh, the mud. Thick, sticky, sucking at your boots like it wants to swallow you whole. Men fall and don't get back up. Not because they're dead, because they're stuck, trampled, forgotten. You spot a knight barreling toward you, sword raised high. You hold your ground, because there's nowhere else to go. The blow comes down like lightning, blackness. You wake up hours later, dazed, covered in someone else's blood. The battlefield? Silent. Ravens circle, men groan, crawl, or lie perfectly still. A dying soldier moans, asking for his mother. And you think, this is nothing like the movies. Back in camp, wounded men are lined up like cattle. There's no morphine, no antibiotics, just wine to dull the pain and a heated blade to cauterize wounds. Screaming is the soundtrack. You see a man get his leg sawed off. He bites down on a stick. Blood spurts. You nearly throw up. Night falls. The fires glow low. The survivors eat hard bread and cold stew. The dead are piled into shallow pits. And you? You sit quietly, your phone battery at 2%, wondering if Candy Crush was really that important. Want to see how you'd fare in a medieval prison? You're not sure what law you broke. Maybe you insulted a noble's wig. Maybe someone just didn't like your face. Either way, you're being dragged through town by two guards who smell like sour onions and regret. The villagers don't even look up. Public shaming? Just another Tuesday. You're shoved into a stone building that somehow manages to be colder than outside. A heavy wooden door creaks open, and you're introduced to your new living quarters, a medieval dungeon. First impressions? It's damp. Like there's a frog living in the wall damp. The floor is made of uneven stones, slick with who knows what. The air smells like mold, sweat, and something rotting in the corner that's either a rat or the last prisoner. You don't ask. The door slams shut. Darkness falls like a wool blanket over your senses. You reach for your phone, it lights up faintly. Battery, 1%. Signal, 0. Comfort, also 0. A cough rattles from the shadows. New one, huh? Someone rasps. You freeze. There's a voice. It belongs to a man who's been here so long, he's probably part moss. You can't see his face, only the glint of his eyes in the dark. You'll get used to the rats, he mutters. You don't. They're everywhere. Bold little monsters, darting over your legs, sniffing your hair, chewing on your boots while you try to sleep. One steals a bit of bread from your pocket, looks you dead in the eye and waddles off like he owns the place. You try to lie down. The stone floor bruises your bones. The chain on your ankle clinks with every twitch. You shiver. There's no blanket, no pillow, and no heating unless you count your own misery. The hours stretch like tar. No clocks, no windows. Just the slow drip of water from somewhere above and the occasional scream from deeper within the prison. Food arrives once a day, if you can call it food, a thin broth that tastes like sadness and sawdust, served in a cracked wooden bowl. You drink it, you hate yourself for drinking it, but hunger wins. Sometimes a guard walks by and kicks the bars for fun. One day they drag out your mossy cellmate. You never see him again. You learn quickly, speak little, move less, keep your back to the wall and your thoughts quiet. Days blur. You start naming the rats. You cry once, maybe twice. Then something happens. A group of men is thrown into the cell beside you. Farmers accused of theft. They tell stories. They sing. They joke. Laughter. Actual laughter. It cuts through the darkness like sunlight. You remember what hope sounds like. And for the first time in what feels like centuries, you close your eyes and sleep without fear. The next morning, the guard returns. He opens your cell. You've been released, he growls. No explanation, no apology. You step out, blinking at the light like a newborn calf. Your legs are weak, your breath visible in the morning chill. And just before the door closes, you look back into the blackness you came from. You feel it. Respect for those who survived. Sorrow for those who didn't. And your phone? Dead, useless. stuffed in your pocket like a relic of a world that never prepared you for this one. You step out of the dungeon and into what should be freedom. Except your nose is running, your throat feels like sandpaper, and you're shivering like a wet cat. Congratulations, you've caught a cold. Now in your time, this would mean tea, Netflix, and scrolling memes in bed under two blankets. But here, in the Middle Ages, a cold might as well be a death sentence, and not because of the illness, but because of how they treat it. First stop, the village healer. She's a hunched woman with 12 necklaces made from what looks suspiciously like bones, and she lives in a house that smells like damp hay and cat pee. You explain your symptoms. She squints at you like you're cursed and mumbles something about imbalanced humors. She pulls out a jar of something brown and lumpy. It looks like it used to be an animal. She tells you to eat it. You don't want to, but you're too sick to argue. You take a bite. Regret is immediate. Then she suggests leeches. No, seriously, leeches. She pulls out a damp cloth bag, opens it, and out wriggle 3 thumb-sized nightmares. She presses them to your skin. You yelp. She calls you weak. The leeches latch on. Your life literally drains away drop by drop. You ask for water. She gives you ale. You ask for rest. She gives you a charm made of beetle wings and crow feathers and tells you to sleep under a goat for warmth. You do. The goat farts on you. You try to breathe, but now your chest is tight and you're coughing up something green. The healer says it's a good sign. You're not convinced. At night, your fever burns. You hallucinate that your phone is ringing, and for a moment, you actually try to swipe on the dead screen with your thumb. Nothing. The world is pixels and pain and very questionable herbal tea. And then, you wake up. You're not dead, not yet. The fever has broken. You're drenched in sweat. Your mouth tastes like swamp. But you're alive. Barely. The healer nods. See? Told you the beetle wing charm works. You're too weak to argue. You step outside and the cold air slaps your face. Winter hasn't gotten any softer. But now you've learned. Survival isn't about comfort. It's about not dying stupidly, which in medieval times is surprisingly hard. You trudge away from the healer's hut, wondering what new horror you'll stumble into next. And it doesn't take long. Because a man in chainmail is galloping toward the village square, shouting about a plague. Of course there's a plague! You duck into a barn, but not before someone sneezes directly in your face. Roll the dice, traveler. It's about to get worse. It begins, as most nightmares do, with a sneeze. Wet, sudden, from a man with half a beard and 0 boundaries. He doesn't even apologize, just wipes his nose on his sleeve and stares at you like it's your fault his lungs tried to escape. Moments later, chaos erupts in the village square. A bell rings. Not the church bell. No, this one's smaller, handheld, and it jingles with a kind of desperate urgency. A man in a leather hood yells the one word that makes every medieval villager drop their turnips and run. Ein, plague! Within minutes, the square is empty, chickens are flying, someone's baby is left crying in a cabbage cart, and you're standing in the middle of it all, confused, sneeze-drenched, and holding an apple you definitely can't afford anymore. You try to explain you just have a cold, a normal, 21st century, thoroughly modern cold. Too late. You feel rough hands grab your arms. A sack is thrown over your head. Someone shouts, "This one was coughed on!" And now you're being hauled off like last week's compost. When the sack is finally pulled off your head, you're inside a stone barn. 40 people. No windows. One door. One dead chicken. Someone coughs. A wet barking cough that echoes off the walls and makes everyone look like they just saw death enter the room. You try not to breathe. The smell hits you next. Imagine the inside of an old boot, filled with onions, stale ale, sweat, and despair. That's the air in here. The floor is hay. The hay is damp. The damp is definitely urine. People are mumbling. Someone's praying. A guy in the corner is chewing on a rat tail and eyeing your jacket like it's made of roasted duck. You check your phone again. Dead. Still. You think back to modern quarantine. Netflix, Zoom calls. sourdough baking disasters. This is prison with worse lighting and no bathrooms. Just a communal corner. No one talks to you at first. You're the outsider, the one with weird clothes and clean teeth. But by the second day, things change. The woman next to you, who only goes by Marta the widow, starts to warm up. She offers you a boiled root. It's beige, slimy, and tastes like soap mixed with sadness. You eat it anyway. The dead chicken? Still there. No one wants to touch it. It's become part of the group, like a mascot. People start calling it Sir Clux-a-Lot. He gets more respect than you. A boy named Tim throws up on your boots. You don't even flinch anymore. By day 3, you're all coughing. Is it plague? Allergies? Who knows? One guy claims it's demons. Another insists it's the result of bad stars. Meanwhile, your phone has become a sort of idol. You've been keeping it in your pocket, not using it, but just once you pulled it out and someone saw the screen light up with your lock screen. They screamed. Now they think you're a witch. They've started whispering. You hear the words, "Burn him." You consider faking your own death. You consider joining Sir Clux-a-Lot in the afterlife just to escape. But you're not done yet. On the 4th day, the door opens. Sunlight. A figure in a tattered cloak enters. He has a mask with a long beak, stuffed with herbs. A plague doctor. He surveys the room. He points. 10 people are dragged out, gagging. The rest of you? Still stuck. He says, 14 days. 14 days. You try to remember how long your battery lasts on ultra-low power. Not 14 days. The boy who threw up on your boots is now chewing on your scarf. You're too tired to stop him. That night, you huddle next to Marta, Sir Clux-a-Lot between you. And somehow, despite it all, you sleep. In your dream, you're in your own bed. Pillows, hot soup, maybe even Wi-Fi. But when you wake up, Marta is snoring on your shoulder. Someone is arguing about whose lice are whose, and the chicken is mysteriously gone. You pray it didn't end up in the soup. You get up. You're going to escape. You're going to survive. Even if you have to chew through the door with your own teeth. This isn't over. This is war. You've never been more determined. 4 days into quarantine and your brain is fraying like a medieval tunic. The coughing never stops. The stink is alive. You're down to one boot. The other was taken by a man who claimed his goat needed it more. But then, hope. You overhear whispers near the door. 2 teens, Tim and a kid known only as Rat Boy, are plotting. You lean in. You're not above begging for a spot in their escape plan. Pride died with your last protein bar. Turns out Tim once worked for the Thatcher who roofed this very barn. He knows the weak points. Rat Boy, he's been mapping the inside of the quarantine barn using spit and a stick. Yes, a mud map. On a piece of cloth that looks suspiciously like someone's old underpants. You're in. Step 1, distract the plague doctor. Not easy. He comes in twice a day, shuffling like a vulture in a bathrobe, face hidden by his creepy beaked mask stuffed with dried mint and whatever smelled vaguely less like death. So you create a diversion. Marta the widow starts screaming about a demon in the hay. Rat Boy fakes a seizure. Tim throws the dead chicken bones in the air like it's a sacrificial ritual. The doctor drops his herbs and runs. Perfect. You and your escape squad roll up the cloth map and head to the weak spot in the barn wall. It's behind a stack of rotting barrels filled with mysterious liquid. Spoiler, it's not wine. Tim hands you a shovel. It's more rust than metal, but it might work. You dig, and dig, and dig, for hours. The smell is unholy. The floor is mostly mud and despair. Rat Boy's map disintegrates halfway through. He eats part of it because he says it tastes like garlic. You don't ask. But finally, you break through. A hole, big enough to crawl through if you exhale first and don't mind a few splinters to the spleen. You go first. It's pitch black on the other side. You land in something wet. It squelches. You pray it's just mud. Behind you, Rat Boy and Tim follow. The others stay behind. Marta says she's too old. She wishes you luck and hands you a turnip as a parting gift. You're touched, emotionally, not physically. No one touches anyone anymore. You emerge from the barn behind a crumbling stone fence. It's dusk. The village looks different from here. Quieter. Empty. There's a mist settling on the thatched roofs, and somewhere far off you hear a bell tolling. One of the boys whispers, "We're free." You look around. Not yet. You still need food, shelter, and most importantly, power. Your phone battery is at 2%. You have one chance. There's a monastery nearby. Rumors say they have a lightning machine. You assume it's some medieval generator, maybe a water wheel powered whatever. You decide to find it. But first, food. You sneak into a nearby garden. It's fenced with woven sticks and guarded by an old hound with 3 teeth and a limp. Rat Boy distracts it with a dead beetle. You grab some roots and a handful of beans. Tim finds a wheel of hard cheese. It's the size of a backpack and smells like punishment. You move under the cover of darkness. The path to the monastery is through dense woods. Branches slap your face. Bugs crawl into places they shouldn't. The air is thick with damp earth and owl screeches. You step in something furry that squeaks and runs away. Finally, at dawn, you see it. Perched on a cliff, stone arches rising out of the mist, is the monastery. It's magnificent and guarded. Of course it's guarded. 2 monks stand at the gate, wearing robes and holding long sticks that look just sharp enough to ruin your entire week. You approach slowly. The phone is nearly dead. You hold it up. They gasp. One crosses himself. The other whispers, Is that the light of St. Elric? You go with it. Yes, you say, and he says you should let me in before he strikes this place with holy thunder. They step back. The gate creaks open. You're inside. You step through the ancient monastery gates like some kind of phone-wielding prophet. Your last 1% of battery, glowing like a divine relic in the pre-dawn fog. Tim and Rat Boy follow close behind, trying to act cool and saintly despite being covered in mud, fleas, and the faint odor of barn rot. The monks lead you into a vast stone hall, cold, echoing, and lit by rows of flickering tallow candles. Their robes swish as they form a semicircle around you, whispering prayers and eyeing your hoodie like it's chainmail from heaven. One of them steps forward. He's older, with eyebrows like broom bristles and breath that smells like pickled fish in theology. He introduces himself as Brother Aldwin, keeper of the sacred current. You try not to laugh. He's serious. He motions to a room in the back, thick oak door, iron hinges, ominous creaking. Inside you see it, the lightning machine. It's a wooden wheel, attached to a shaft, connected to a series of gears that turn a big, ominous metal thing over a shallow stream. It is, in fact, a medieval water wheel generator. Sort of. There's a weird iron crank and something involving sheep wool. Honestly, it's hard to tell whether it's going to charge your phone or explode. Still, it's hope. You pull out your phone like Indiana Jones revealing the idol. The monks gasp. One faints. Another kneels and chants something that might be Latin or just gibberish from sheer awe. You point to the phone. Magic, you say, but only if I feed it lightning. Brother Aldwin strokes his beard. We must pray first, he says. Of course you must. So you kneel. They chant, and chant, and chant. You check your phone again. 0%. No, 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 no. You gently poke Aldwin, mid-hymn. Time-sensitive miracle, you whisper. He nods solemnly and signals 2 younger monks to start the wheel. It creaks to life. Water churns. Gears grind. Something sizzles. You plug in your charging cable using an adapter you MacGyvered from twine, a chicken bone, and a melted pewter spoon. The phone lights up. A single red battery bar pulses. You're a god. The monks bow. Rat Boy claps. Tim starts crying. You bask in the glory for 5, maybe 10 seconds, until a loud bell rings. Dong, dong, dong. Brother Aldwin freezes. That's the warning bell, he says. We are under inspection. By who? He grimaces. The bishop's inquisitor. You feel your stomach drop. Let's be clear. If anyone in the Middle Ages is going to take one look at your glowing phone and scream, "Witchcraft," it's an inquisitor. And now you have 2% battery and a room full of witnesses. You act fast. Hide me, you say. They hesitate. You throw in a little drama. If the bishop destroys this relic, the light of St. Elric may never shine again. Guilt works. Brother Aldwin nods and leads you to a trapdoor under the pulpit. You and your ragged squad squeeze into the crawl space, barely fitting among sacks of flour and bones that may or may not be from the monastery's last guest. Above you, boots stomp, doors slam. A voice booms. I smell heresy. Rat Boy lets out a very unhelpful sneeze. You brace yourself. The phone, still plugged in, buzzes to life at 5%. A bright, unmistakable flash from a notification lights up the floorboards. You hold your breath. Footsteps approach. You start mentally drafting your farewell TikTok in your head. And then, silence. The footsteps move away. Brother Aldwin's voice mutters something about divine steamlight, and the Inquisitor grunts and says, "Monks are weird," before walking out. You live. Again. You stay hidden for hours. Eventually, the monks pull you out and tell you the Inquisitor's gone. They feed you porridge and offer you a room. You check your phone. 8%. It's something, but you need more. You need escape. This monastery is safe, for now, but rumors swirl. The relic will draw attention, and you're not here to become a medieval saint or the founder of some weird phone-worshipping cult. You're here to survive. And maybe, just maybe, get back home. Tim finds a map in the monastery's library. It shows a strange hill to the north, marked with an ancient symbol. Beneath it, a forgotten Roman ruin. Rat Boy's eyes light up. Romans had magic tunnels, he whispers. Maybe even stars that move. You don't ask what that means. You just know it's your next move. Pack your things. Say your goodbyes. Tomorrow you leave the monastery. So, you made it. Mud-caked, flea-bitten, probably emotionally scarred, but alive. And somehow, with just a dying phone and the sheer force of modern anxiety, you've outwitted peasants, monks, and inquisitors alike. Okay, but here's the thing. This isn't just a wild thought experiment. It's a reminder of how far we've come, of how much we take for granted. Clean water, working toilets, soap that doesn't double as cheese, and yes, a phone that does literally everything without getting you burned at the stake. You went back to the Middle Ages armed with memes, a flashlight, and Google. And guess what? It wasn't enough. Not even close. So next time your Wi-Fi cuts out for 5 minutes, or you complain about the Uber taking too long, remember, in 1347, you'd be trading your soul for a spoonful of garlic and a clean pair of socks. If you enjoyed this dive into time-traveling chaos, hit that like button. It's a lot easier than building a monastery. Subscribe for more bizarre history, alternate timelines, and smart storytelling. And hey, let me know in the comments, where should we time travel next? Now dim those lights, plug in your phone, and take a deep breath. Because here in the 21st century, you're safe. For now. Good night, traveler.